Hey, welcome back to the Ruck the Wave podcast. We're so glad you guys are with us today, listening and watching wherever you are. And Gabe and I want to be able to provide occasionally a chance to take you with us on actual pilgrimages. So today is a bit of a special episode. It's an episode that I recorded with a good buddy of mine here in Scotland, Mr. Vinnie King. About a month ago, we went to the island of Islay off the west coast of Scotland. And we walked and we talked. So much of this podcast, we really wanted to feel like you are with friends who are having a conversation with you on the way. And that's what we did on Islay. So if you are a listener, you may want to click over to our YouTube site so you can actually see the beautiful surroundings of Scotland. But no matter what you do, if you're just listening, you're going to hear some great conversation about life, about friendship, about how men become friends, and what it's like to be on pilgrimage together with others.
Yeah, and I'm just jealous that I wasn't there, so I'll be tuning in as well. And I hope that some of you will be able to join us in the future on an actual pilgrimage in a place like Islay. And in case you didn't know, Ruck the Way is actually a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And you can see I'm wearing the shirt today. Here's our cool logo. If you want to learn more about Ruck the Way, you can go to rucktheway.com. But I wanted to encourage you, if you're a regular listener to the podcast, if you're really getting something out of it, if it's helping you walk the way in your life, would you consider making a donation in any amount? There's no amount that's too small, because every dollar that you give goes to help us continue to do the podcast and also defray costs for people like veterans and people in ministry actually go and have the pilgrimage experience without the burden of finance getting in the way. So thank you guys for all your support. We're so encouraged by your notes and your emails, and just, like and subscribe. And it's such an encouragement. We love this work. And just remember, let the walk do the work, and enjoy today's show.
Hey, this is Chris, and I'm here with my good friend, Vinnie King. We are on a pilgrimage in Scotland together, and it's not your normal pilgrimage, right, Vinnie?
It's not.
It's a whiskey pilgrimage. So, of all the different kind of pilgrimages that we've talked about, this one's pretty specific. We decided to come out here. Vinnie is actually part of our community in Scotland. He has been here for 5 years. He and his family have served alongside of us, and we'll talk maybe more as we're walking about the kind of friendship that we've developed over the years. But he is getting ready to go back to the States with his family. So this is kind of a last hurrah for the boys, and we decided to do a very particular pilgrimage. So I'm going to flip the camera around, and you can kind of see what kind of pilgrimage we're talking about here.
Yeah, give a wee gander.
Give a gander. But we are on a beautiful island in Scotland, and I'll tell you which one in just a second. So there we go. For all of you whiskey fans, you will recognize this distillery, Lagavulin. Or maybe if you were a Parks and Recreation fan, you recognize where Ron Swanson wept in one episode because he got to make a pilgrimage to the motherland. So
it's an interesting collision of demographics there.
It is indeed. So, we got the spiritual demographic of pilgrimage, people who watch Parks and Rec and The Office, and people who drink whiskey. So Lagavulin. So I'll just give you a brief scan here of the horizon. It is it's actually quite a beautiful day here in March in Scotland. It's a little cold, it's a little windy. There was snow last night.
Only slightly windy.
And we were standing here on a little outcropping with, I think is this Lagavulin Castle? I think it might be. Anyway, that gives you a picture of where we are.
Here we go. Make the journey.
Yeah, for those of you who are just listening,
wonderful.
Vinnie's climbing up to the top to get a scan from the top of the castle. And there's blue sky today, You never take blue sky for granted.
Blue skies for now. This wind can bring a lot.
So in the past in the podcast, we've defined pilgrimage as being a journey with a spiritual purpose. And you kind of wonder, what is going to the island of Islay? By the way, that's where we are. We are on the island of Islay, Islay. It's not Islay or Islay, it's Islay. And Islay is known to have many distilleries, at least 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And they all have very peated whiskey. So if you are a whiskey drinker, you'll know you either love peated whiskey or you hate it. It's
divisive.
Yeah, it is very divisive. Both of us love it. And so yeah, we're touring a couple of distilleries, Lagavulin, Ardbeg, and Bowmore for sure. And then we'll see what happens over the weekend. But yeah, I would say our time here together is not just about drinking whiskey, but it's being in friendship and brotherhood. It's a way to say goodbye and to celebrate, the last 5 years of your time here in Scotland, Vinnie. So yeah, maybe as we walk a little bit, because we're going to actually walk between Lagavulin and Ardbeg, which after you've had a couple grams. As true pilgrims, you need to walk it off. Yeah, maybe we can talk more about what it means, how men become friends. We've mentioned in the past, I think it was on the Men and Vulnerability podcast, that men don't easily become friends, especially when they're like past the age of 10. It's hard. It's hard to develop friendship.
It is interesting, the dichotomy between, I met this guy when I was young, so we've been friends forever, versus, we like all the same things, but yet, we're not quite there. I've only known him for 15 years.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I think for men, it gets really hard after a certain amount of time. It's just hard to make friends. So Vinnie and I were having a conversation in the car. So we drove here from the Edinburgh area yesterday, just about, how our friendship develops. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that. That'd be, I think, interesting for guys to hear how our friendship kind of developed and how we found ourselves here on this island.
I think so.
Drinking good peated whiskey together.
Indeed.
Yeah, and
indeed.
That is part of the spiritual purpose. All right. And let me just put a plug in for Scotland. For those of you who are thinking about joining us on a pilgrimage, this is a place of great natural beauty, and there is something so healing about this atmosphere. It's a little bit cold and windy, but we try to plan our pilgrimages at times of the year where the wind is less, the sun is more, and we've had pilgrimages where we were in shorts and t-shirts the entire way. So you just never know, but again, even if it's cold and windy, the beauty of this place is somewhere that is almost unmatched in the world. So come and join us. Yeah, what do you see up there, Vinnie?
I mean, everything. You can see why they picked this for a castle, just for one, you can protect the distillery.
Yes,
it's important.
The distillery.
It's important. But I mean, you've just got such a wide view of everything here. Like, I don't know. It feels silly sometimes talking about like thinking through protection like that in the modern era. But just, I think it's interesting. Like for me, as I think of pilgrimage, I think of the way that we abuse to our own detriment some of these safety measures, like the ways that we protect ourselves is over the top. It's we protect ourselves at the cost of ourselves.
So true.
To stand here in a ruined castle, I mean, it's a wall. It's not even a castle anymore. But and think about the difference between my life and the ways that I have chosen to emotionally protect myself versus the people that had to make the decision of where to build this castle. And it was actually an incredibly important decision. And they chose this hill instead of that one. I don't know if you can pan to that one very well, but But for some reason, they made this choice. And it mattered. It mattered what decision that they made for the protection of this island and their families. But we live in such a different reality that even though Islay would have been so isolated for much of human history, we also kind of live more isolated today by choice. And the choices we
100%.
make in protection.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting standing in a place of such a stark difference between those things. Because this distillery no longer needs this castle to protect it.
Yeah.
And probably never did in its actual existence. But yeah, we're so close. And there's two very different realities here in this place. So, yeah.
I love that you went there with the metaphor, because I was about ready to go there too. But I thought, oh, is that too much? But thank you, Vinnie King. That was perfect. Because I just do think, yeah, as men, we build up, well, as humans, we build up walls.
Yeah.
But I think men in particular, we learn to build up walls so early and so fast to keep the world out, to keep ourselves safe. And it's kind of beautiful in the metaphor that you're standing here in the sunshine in Scotland with a broken down wall for a castle that is no longer needed. You know, and as we're kind of walking together, we've spent a lot of time talking about the fact that maybe some of our defenses don't need to be around anymore, and they need to be broken down. And what happens when you actually open yourself up to the kindness and curiosity and care of another person. Good talk.
And noticing the difference between a rightly built wall, a wall that should have been built in your protection of yourself, and a wall that should never have been built.
Yeah, good
You know,
point.
or a wall that should have been built but now needs to be torn down all the same.
Yeah. The metaphors keep coming. All right, we got the castle in the background here.
There you
And
go.
we can walk and talk.
good.
Sound good?
Yep, I'm in.
So I'm just kind of thinking about that whole idea of pilgrimage being a journey for a spiritual purpose. How would you categorize this as spiritual, Vinnie? Even though we're just friends here hanging out.
Well, I mean,
Good guy
we're
stuff.
enjoying spirits with the spirit.
Indeed.
I can recycle jokes here, right?
Yeah, of course.
We
The
got
Ruck the Way podcast, you know, it's all, you know.
we got to test them out without the camera on, and then we're like, oh, we like that one. We'll keep it in. We'll keep it in.
Yeah.
That's gonna sound way more polished than. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think there's just I don't know. I struggle a lot of times to really begin to delve into even what pilgrimage really means and how it works and what it even does, because it's so experiential, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm not very eloquent. So the combination of these two things works against me speaking well of pilgrimage.
But you've been on a couple.
Yes.
You've been on a short one and then a full St. Cuthbert Way.
Well, and I think as well as being part of East Mountain, we, as a community, endeavor to live on pilgrimage.
Oh, true.
So
What does that mean?
I think the biggest thing is pilgrimage is a time that you set aside to be aware of the things you normally miss. So when you try to live life on pilgrimage, again, you are endeavoring to live life catching the things that most people miss.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always mean it's great. You know, that doesn't mean
Or easy.
all the things you notice are wonderful, profound things. The reality is, I think that's the biggest thing, is you actually notice a lot of not profound things, which also helps. It helps when juxtaposed with the profound things. It's like, actually, this is the same walk. I'm on the same road. I'm doing the same things. I'm with the same people. I'm thinking about the same question. Yet, I had a thought that I don't know that I ever care to recall again, and one of the most profound things I've ever thought about. And really, that's what life is, isn't it? You know, like there's so much that is just the mundane, normal stuff that you have to do, or you want to do, or you just did because you did. And those profound moments, and you don't actually get to plan them. That's what we struggle with as humans a lot, right?
Yeah.
We want to plan.
We want to control it. Moments. We want to have a curated pilgrimage and curated by us. Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
I tried for a long time. It doesn't work. And,
well, I think it's interesting. You're just talking about your time here with East Mountain. And for those of you who don't know, East Mountain is our kind of charity, but also our community here in Scotland that Vinnie and his wife Jess and his 2 boys have been a part of for 5 years. And I think we have tried to curate a space where we could discover together and to be on pilgrimage and to ask deep questions and sometimes hard questions and to actually lay out our stories in front of each other.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes really hard.
Yep.
But it's beautiful.
Yes. Well, and the reality is, to steal one of the lines I hear you say often, is all you actually can do is to set the table.
Yeah, true.
And then the moment is the moment. If you've set the table well, the moment can become profound and beautiful and all of these things, or it can be incredibly mundane, which has its own beauty.
Right, true.
But let's be honest, it's not the thing that we typically look for. But the reality is also, in processing your story, I think you also find that those moments you once thought mundane often at least allude to, profound things, and they paint a bigger picture than you thought they could.
Right.
And there's so much that I think we can miss by underestimating quiet moments. Like a big thing for me when I was in my early 20s, I read a book called The Untold Story of the New Testament Church. And in that, there's a lot of other things in it, but one of the big things that I really took from it is, we have Acts, I'm trying to remember, is Acts 22 chapters? Something like that.
Something like that.
20 some odd anyway.
In the 20s.
Right? And it covers how many years of how many people's lives in 22 chapters. And we tend to think, the apostles in their lives in the early church, there was so much going on. And I think that's true. Yet.
What about all the silent spaces that they don't include?
Exactly. We're given so little of that, probably because so much of it was mundane. And I think part of what's part of what you get from mundane, once you begin to pay attention to it, is that it's just for you. That's really what makes it mundane, is it's these little pictures of beauty that you get to experience in a way that no one else gets to, because no one else gets it, or the people that were present with you in that moment get it. But it's for a select few.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of why we don't get those pictures, even of other people's lives. Again, like you can sit down and read a book on anyone who's ever lived, right? You can sit down and read a book a lot of times, on their lives, a lot of times in a weekend, maybe a week. If you're a good reader, I'm not, but like the reality is that's very little of what's actually there. And I just think there's so much that we miss wanting to have those moments that would be the
pinnacle moments.
Yeah.
The trips to Islay.
Oh, this can headline a chapter.
Right.
Or headline a chapter.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's a big moment, This chapter can lead up to that. The reality is, no, every moment you've ever lived leads up to that moment. That really boring ham sandwich that you ate for lunch yesterday matters. Even though it's just a ham sandwich, but you've had hundreds of, if not thousands of in your
Right,
lifetime.
but what that ham sandwich is doing is it's actually nourishing your physical body, which is continuing in time.
Yep.
And you are a body with a spirit. Those two are joined together,
Yeah.
and you're an eternal being. So the ham sandwich is as important to your spirit as it is to your body in some weird way that we don't understand.
Yeah. Well, I think we separate the sacred and the secular
Yes.
to our peril.
Yeah.
It's such a silly thing to do, right?
Right.
It's such a weird thing of like, oh, like, well, why does that sacred thing matter? It's only because the secular things matter. You know, like if these other things aren't important and don't have a role and don't play into everything, then how can the sacred ones?
Right.
They can't. You know, it just doesn't hold up.
Well,
Yeah.
in that way, I just think about, we ask the question, how is this spiritual? This thing that we're doing, besides the spirits of drinking whiskey, but even in the joy of sitting down and having heard how at Lagavulin they process the barley and how it's malted and how it's brewed and distilled and the beauty of how it's put into casks, and then the different choices that are made produce different spirits, and then tasting of that at the end. There's just something so beautiful, artistic in a way, and then sharing it with a dear friend. I think part of the beauty of this for me that we're doing is the poignancy of knowing that you're going,
Yeah.
and that this is a chance and a moment in time that we get to spend physically together doing something that we both love and just being brothers.
Yeah.
And walking on the road together. And even this crazy idea that I had of, hey, why don't we do a little podcast recording? But even, this chance to talk together in front of a camera and having these things come out, for me, I'm like, this is all part of the beauty and the pain and the joy of being human.
Yeah.
And enjoying the good things of life together, in moderation, of course.
Of course.
Of course. But yeah, enjoying God's beauty and the beauty of friendship and laughter and experience. Yeah, for me, that's all pilgrimage. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I think as well, part of the beauty of pilgrimage is you don't actually know.
True.
You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. The reality is any given pilgrimage could be a flop.
Right.
But what changes it, what the only actual thing that matters to whether or not a pilgrimage becomes, a success, as we'd like to call it,
More than the sum of its parts.
yeah,
Yeah.
is the risk.
Yeah, so true.
Are people going to risk? And that's the setting of the table.
Yeah.
Will you take the risk to put your desire to be unseen, your desire to be seen on the table, knowing you don't get to guarantee whether or not you are seen or heard or felt or held compassionately. Even with like we've been on this journey, right, of life on pilgrimage together physically for 5 years, but longer than that. Really it's closer to 6 or 7,
More
depending
than
on
that,
how
10,
you want to.
Closer, almost to 10
Yeah.
at this point.
So, like, the reality is, we don't actually have a guarantee that we can go to these places and that will be held all that well.
No.
I'm struck by, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about on the podcast here, but these gates, like here you've only got one, but every other gate we've walked through has 3.
Huh.
And it's to get the sheep to cross, and so you can control the sheep down the road, I'm sure.
This is what I love about being on pilgrimage with Vinnie. Is Vinnie's like a handyman joiner. So everywhere we go, like Vinnie's noticing things about like the joinery and the stuff around the door frames and this. And I'm like, this is being on pilgrimage with Vinnie. He has eyes to see what I don't, and I love that. And that's part of the beauty too, is that hey, we bring something different to the table, and
Absolutely.
in our friendship and our relationship, we're not the same, and that's good.
Yeah. Well, that's the important piece of pilgrimage as well, isn't it? That you're with, no matter who you're with, they will have eyes to see something you don't.
Right, because they're not you.
Because they're not you. They haven't lived your story, and your story is so unique and personal that it affects you in a way that no one else can be affected.
Right.
So, yeah, and as well, that's part of this thing, right? Like, I'm going to take this risk. I'm going to bring this thing up, but this thing might actually hurt your feelings.
Oh, yeah.
And
Or I
I'm
might
willing to
completely
bet-
misunderstand and hold it very badly.
Yes, so like there's a few ways that you can hold things badly, right? You can be upset by it. You can think, oh yeah, this is a thing that I really want to deal with. So here I go,
I've got the
charging
answer.
forwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm great and mature and awesome. So therefore, here you go, buddy. Or you can just totally miss it because of whatever piece of your own story. And that's a risk every single time. So regardless of what you're sharing, you still have to take that risk. You have to take that moment to say, actually, you know what? I'm going to be courageous for the sake of moving into this thing and for the sake, whether it be of myself, my community, all of these things wrapped up together, I'm going to take this risk. But it's a risk every time.
Every time.
No matter how many times someone's gotten it right, they can still get it wrong.
I didn't realize how close we are to our next destination on the pilgrimage. So that is Ardbeg, and we've got a tour there at 3:30, but first we're going to go have some lunch because, as we just said, the body's important. That ham sandwich
We must find the ham.
is important to our spirits, souls, and bodies. And we'll
Indeed.
find it next at Ardbeg. So here's a bit of iconic British scenery for you. You've got the red telephone booth with no telephone in it, unfortunately. And this is our approach to stop number 2 on the whiskey pilgrimage, Ardbeg, which I have had once before. It was quite good.
Rest and be thankful, for you have arrived.
We have arrived. There's a good pilgrimage. Although it's
Note.
not about the destination.
It's not.
It's about the journey.
It's about the journey, man.
It's about walking off the last whiskey tasting.
You want to be pet? Yeah. Seem to. You seem comfortable. Oh? We're okay. We're buddies. Yeah.
Vinnie and the Peaceable Kingdom.
That's right.
So after our whiskey pilgrimage, we have taken a little road trip, and we're right here at sunset, and oh man, it's beautiful. We are coming up on an artifact that when I found out it was here, I really wanted to see. Yeah, so we're gonna go in and check it out.
Let's go.
So this is the Kildalton High Cross. It is from the 8th century AD. I think I read that outside of the island of Iona, it is probably one of the best preserved high standing crosses in the world. Beautiful. So yeah, these kind of crosses are basically, they are remnants of a faith that spread in these islands that I know we've talked about in the podcast before. It was kind of the power of Celtic Christianity that transferred from St. Patrick to Ireland, that won Ireland and then came back across the Irish Sea to Scotland in the person of St. Columba, who established his monastery and kind of his monastic movement on Iona, which is not far from here, actually. So it's thought that the same person that carved the big high crosses on Iona carved this one too. So yeah, I'm just sort of always amazed at the men, mostly men, but also women, that were a product of that kind of Christianity, and the way that they lived their lives as both contemplative and missional. That always strikes me, that it wasn't just that they were going, but they also took time to pause, that they were concerned with their inner life and what was going on the inside, as well as the needs of the world. And I just think so often in life, at least in the Christian world, that we kind of err on one side or the other. It's either we're kind of focused in on ourselves and our own kind of spiritual life and our own church and our own family in the church, or we're only concerned about going in missions or in helping the poor. And this kind of Christianity was about both.
And they did that as the minority.
Yeah.
They were never
Right.
they were never the major player on
Right.
the church stage.
That's why people have never heard of them.
Worldwide. Yes, exactly.
Except St. Patrick's Day, where they die over screen and drink too much beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. But this just feels like, I mean, to me, you've got behind us kind of the ruins of a chapel, and we were just kind of reading in the little information board over there that there was probably some sort of cell, like a hermit cell or a monastic center here, that dated back from the 8th century, maybe. It was here for a while. That's why they would have put why they would have actually put like a big cross like that one here. So yeah, for me too, this is kind of we were talking about pilgrimage, the journey for a spiritual purpose. And it's not that you have to go to monastic sites or see beautiful crosses like this, the work of Christians to do that. But there's just something very moving about standing in this landscape and kind of looking out over the hills and thinking that men and women of faith have been here for centuries, more than a millennia. And yeah, in some ways, for me, that's just very moving. So brother, good to be here with you.
Good to be here with you. Yeah, I'm just aware of, as we've talked about, we're here on this whiskey pilgrimage, but I think as excited as both of us were to come to Islay, to enjoy the Islay whiskeys, and that was the bookings.
Yeah, that was the driving force, right? Yeah.
But we both, I think, I'll speak on your behalf here. You can correct me if you need to. I think we both knew that what we would actually come away from this cherishing were those in-between times.
Yeah.
The things that we did in between. This wasn't a stop along
it wasn't
the original
planned.
plan. We knew that we would find things along this vein.
There's no tap room inside that that ruin.
Yeah, no drams will be poured today.
No drams poured.
Today, but in there.
In there.
But, and I think, we take a road that would have been traveled by many of the Celtic Christian saints that we look to for inspiration. But we also don't know, what all else happened in between and all these other things. And again, feels like that's the theme for me for this trip.
Yes. It's
the littles.
You were talking about that with even the Book of Acts. It's like, what happened in the in-between spaces? And, I'm just reminded of different podcast episodes that we've done where we've talked about liminal spaces.
Yeah.
The in-between spaces.
Yep.
And those are the places to pay attention to what's occurring. That's the place to be surprised. Yep. If you're aware and you'll let yourself be surprised.
Well, because there's actually so much power in them, even though they're so easy to overlook. Mm. The reality is, once again, to get back into the friendship among men, right? You don't share about all the trips that went so right. Mm. Like when I think about it, especially when I was a young man, many years ago, the stories I tell from that time are of the bad decisions I made among brothers, and that we shared the misery together and had to find a way out of, and all of that stuff. So, if you were to ask me prior to that where the memories would come from, man, I would have been wrong, And I think I'm to a place now where I know a little bit better. And I knew, yeah, absolutely, we'll enjoy the distilleries. But I bet the things that will make the mark are the times in between. The walks, the talks, the surprises along the road that may not sound that significant.
Right.
But they're the ones that leave the mark, and they're the ones that actually have the long-lasting effect.
For sure. I mean, I was just thinking that I think one of my favorite moments already on this trip has been sitting across from you at Ardbeg at the cafe and just kind of talking about where you're going next. And for me, that was a real moving moment. I just thought, this is the kind of stuff that it doesn't happen. And that was an in-between space. We were literally waiting for the tour to begin. We'd had some lunch and we're having coffee and, talking. Yep. I thought, this is a moment that I'll remember where, we were just discussing things that really mattered.
And the reality is those are the moments our relationship's actually built upon.
Right.
I think we often struggle to tell that in our story. We went there to do this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of true. There's accuracy in that. But the value from it came from the moments in between of, again,
which there have been many.
Sitting in a cafe because we needed to eat lunch while we waited for another a tour to begin in these times. And even discussed coming here,
right?
Because we had recently discovered it exists, and I didn't know about this prior to coming onto this island, and I think
I didn't know about it. I saw it, and I was like, oh, I want to see that.
Yeah. So again, it's just those moments so easily missed.
Right. Well, and this goes back to the conversation that you and I had yesterday, just about our own friendship. But I think we're friendship with men. Often it's those times where you're doing something side by side. It's those in-between times. It's not necessarily the big boys trips or the big planned things. It really is kind of the living side by side, living life. I mean, you and I spent a good 5 months building a shepherd's hut.
Yep.
Basically a caravan on wheels as part of our ministry project. And that's probably where our friendship blossomed and deepened beyond kind of just, hey, we're ministry workers together, or I've invited you here, you're coming, you're working. It's like, no, we told our stories over figuring this thing out, nailing shiplap up on boards, figuring out how to get this thing level. I mean, months of head scratching, and you were the head foreman. I just want to give you props for that. I was just the helper. But yeah, that was where I look back and I think that was the coolest thing. And we got something amazing accomplished, but even more important, we got to know deep things about each other. That built a basis.
We built a thing that's had an amazing impact in that 5 months, and we also got a shepherd's hut out of it.
Yeah, that was a bonus. So that's the beauty of the sunset over the hills. If you can see that, it's fairly faint, but there's a rainbow forming in the sky. There's the rainbow.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're kind of standing here on the edge.
indeed. It's
Land
wonderful
and sea. They're gorgeous.
hearing the roar.
We've got a rain cloud which looks to be swiftly coming our way, so
It's approaching.
we're gonna make our way up to the monument at the top and see if we can avoid the rain somehow. So we're here reading about why this is the American monument, and it's basically built to honor the American soldiers who died in February of 1918 when the Tuscania was torpedoed by a German U-boat. And I guess it says there were about 2,000 soldiers were on board, a crew of 384, and most were salvaged from the sinking, it seems, but many died in the crossing over to the land here in the night. And of course, freezing waters and lifeboats, many men died. So this monument was built to honor those men. I'm just going to say it strikes me as an American kind of discovering this monument and not knowing much about it, you know, over 100 years later, thinking about those men young men who had given their lives to serve their country and who had gone far from home, were overseas in the middle of the night, and then to be attacked. And then thinking that they were saved, and then landing on the shores. The board down there basically talks about how the ones that did survive in the cold were followed by many who didn't, that washed up on shore dead. So, you know, just thinking about those who've gone before us. You know, on pilgrimage we talk a lot about the saints and the people who had given their lives for the faith. And I'm just thinking about these men who gave their lives for a greater cause. And just this idea of finding ourselves in the greater story and what that looks like and feels like. Sometimes it's hard to put ourselves even into a story that's only 106, 7 years old. Much less a story of the faithful that had gone before 1,300, 1,500 years ago. So yeah, it's just a deeply reflective place where kind of the journey takes you to spots of reflection and kind of makes you think about your own life in light of those who've gone before. On fame's eternal camping ground, their silent tents are spread, while glory keeps with solemn round the bivouac of the dead. Got to get the sheep.
That's
a precipitous drop.
yeah.
So hey man, as we're walking and talking, just curious how that
sloshing.
It's sloshing. It is a bit soggy. How'd that monument and the kind of history strike you?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite moving. I think part of it for me, as well as like one was actually shot by a U-boat.
Right.
But it doesn't sound like that was the majority of the losses from that one. And the other one,
Yeah, which we
was
didn't
actually
mention
not in a fight.
before. Yeah, that was.
you know, there's a second one. So there's two wrecks, or two sinkings rather. One was February 5th, shot by a U-boat, an American ship coming over. The other one was October 6th, also of 1918, and it sounded like it was, I think it was two British ships that collided,
Yeah.
and one of them at least had American soldiers on it. It was transporting American soldiers, I think. But it was a British ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Both
think
horrific.
for me, one thing that was really moving was in the second, and the one in October, that was that collided with another. It was a wreck, not a battle. Another smaller vessel came to rescue all that they could. And it sounds like they got about half of them, a little more than half of them, onto their ship, but at great risk to the second ship and their captain. And you know, basically the captain of the sinking ship said, "Hey dude, get out of here. You're gonna sink your boat as well as this one."
Mm-hmm.
And the captain of the smaller ship who was coming to rescue said, "Well, if we sink together."
Yeah, wow. And then they've got guys jumping off from the sinking ship onto this other boat in like heaving seas.
The larger sinking ship, guys are jumping off of it, so assumedly down, you know, not over, but down. I don't know this. There's assumption involved. Onto the deck of this other ship.
Amazing.
While they try to keep the one afloat long enough to rescue as many as possible, and the other one's trying not to get sunk by the larger ship. And yeah, just, I don't know, I think, it's just a testament to the bravery of the men of that second ship.
Yes.
As they endeavor to keep as many of their brothers alive. And how different of an attitude that is
in our day, for the most part,
to the vast majority of modern men.
Yeah.
Not all, and not in every situation. I get it, but generally speaking, we do what we can to isolate ourselves from the other sinking ships, or to make the safe bet, and all of these things. But I think my question is, what would the world look like in 10 or 20 or 50 years if men on the large chose the bravery of not letting their brothers sink?
Wow.
But instead had the courage to say, if you sink, we sink.
We sink together.
Yeah. So, I mean, the church, think of the church. If men as a whole said, you know what? If this church goes down, we all go down together. Or if my brother within the church goes down, this band of men, you know, that we have identified together through whatever way, we go down together.
Yeah. It's a challenge, man. It's a challenge for me. That's, yeah, wow.
Well, and I think for me, where it also really meets the road is like, oof, I want that for my sons.
Yes, I want it from my sons too.
So,
how do we
here's the
impart
trick.
that to our sons?
Yeah, well, you have to have the courage to live it if you want to bring your sons into it. Otherwise, your sons have to find it on their own.
Let's pause here just for a second and turn around so people can see what's behind us.
Yeah,
Because it's
stunning.
Yeah, man, that's a good challenge, and we can't give something to our sons that we don't have. And I think most of us men probably grew up with fathers that didn't know how to give anything close to that to us either.
Yeah.
Not everyone. I think some people grew up with very good fathers, but I think many of us grew up with fathers that, for whatever reason, in their own story, in their own shame, became those men that were self-protective. and weren't able to give anything to their sons. So,
Well,
yeah,
and many of them were born into the same situation,
right. And it goes back.
you know? And
Yeah.
so it's the reality of, well, I only know a world in which I must protect myself.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't look closely enough, well, guess what? That's what I hand to my sons.
Yeah.
So what does it look like to choose the absolutely terrifying, the rightfully terrifying risk of courage? Because the thing about if you sink, we all sink together is you can sink.
Yes, right.
Like-
Death is on the line. And I do think that's important to point out, is that in these situations, death was on the line. So
Yeah.
things became very black and white very quickly. And
Yes.
it was a choice between courage and potential life, or cowardice and certain death. And that I think we live in a time and an age where we're very rarely faced with those kind of black and white choices. But do we really just need to be faced with those kind of choices before we can choose courage? I don't know. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.